The crash landing in Ice World. The stars were silent. Commander Jake Carter sat alone in the pilot's seat of the small human exploration ship Orion X-3. His mission was simple: scan an unexplored star system, collect data, and return to Earth. It was supposed to be boring. Easy. But now, nothing was easy. Warning: hull breach detected. Atmospheric entry in 20 seconds. The ship's voice shouted. Jake held the controls tightly. Outside the window, a white frozen planet filled the view. There was no time to escape. The engines were failing. He was falling. Brace for impact. The ship shook violently. Jake's head hit the dashboard. Everything went dark. When he opened his eyes, everything was quiet. Smoke filled the air. Sparks flew from broken panels. The walls of the ship were covered in ice. His helmet was cracked, but he was still alive. Jake slowly stood up, groaning in pain. His left leg hurt, but it wasn't broken. He limped to the door and pushed it open. A wave of freezing air hit his face. He stepped outside. The sky was gray. Snow covered the ground. Mountains of ice rose in every direction. A strong wind howled like a hungry animal. "This place is dead," Jake whispered. "No one's coming for me." His radio was broken. His ship's beacon was offline. He was truly alone. He took his survival pack, grabbed a small energy pistol, and started walking. Hours passed. Jake's hands were numb. He was losing hope. The cold was too strong. He needed shelter. Then he saw something. Footprints. Large, strange footprints in the snow. They were not human. He crouched down and touched one. "They're fresh," he muttered. "Someone, or something, is alive out here." With no better choice, he followed the tracks. They led into a small icy valley. Thick white fog covered the ground. Suddenly, he heard a growl. He turned fast, gun ready. But it wasn't a beast. It was a woman. An alien woman. She was tall, with glowing blue skin and long silver hair tied in a warrior's braid. Her eyes were sharp, her face cold like the snow around her. She wore thick fur armor made from some kind of beast. A curved blade hung at her waist. Before Jake could speak, she raised a strange metal staff and pointed it at him. He froze. "Don't move," she shouted in a strange accent. "One step, you die." Jake raised his hands. "Easy. I'm not your enemy." Her eyes narrowed. She walked closer, circling him. "You are human," she said slowly, almost in disgust. "Yeah. My ship crashed. I need shelter." The woman looked up at the sky. Snow started falling harder. "Stupid human. You will freeze." "I know," Jake said. "Help me, please." She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked away. Jake stood there, confused. Then she stopped, looked back, and barked. "What are you waiting for? Follow, or die alone." They walked for 10 minutes until they reached a hidden cave behind thick ice walls. Inside, it was dry and quiet. A small fire crackled in the center. Jake collapsed near it, rubbing his hands. The woman watched him like a hawk. She sat on a rock, sharpening her blade. Jake looked around. Animal bones. Strange carvings. This was her home. "Thank you," he said. "You saved my life." She didn't answer. He tried again. "What's your name?" Still no answer. "I'm Jake," he said. She looked at him. "I did not save you. You followed, like a lost dog." Jake sighed. "Well, thanks anyway." Then the wind outside grew louder. A storm was coming. The woman stood up and grabbed thick blankets made of fur. She threw one at him. "You sleep close. We need body heat." Jake blinked. "What?" She stepped closer and growled. "Shut up, human. We're freezing. Get in my bed now." Jake's face turned red. I thought aliens were cold," he stuttered. She rolled her eyes. "I am cold, That's why you must help. Lie down. Do not touch me." Jake lay down awkwardly. The furs were warm, but the air was still icy. She lay beside him, back to back. "Just one night," she said quietly. Jake stared at the ceiling of the cave. What kind of planet was this? Who was this strange, powerful alien woman? And what happened to her? He closed his eyes, shivering. Somewhere, deep in the snow outside, something howled. Who is this alien woman? Jake woke up to the sound of quiet breathing beside him. The fire had burned low, but the warmth of the thick animal furs kept him alive through the night. His body was still cold, but not frozen. He turned his head slightly and saw her. The alien woman. She was awake, sitting near the fire, sharpening her blade again. Her face was calm but serious. Her silver hair fell loose around her shoulders now. The blue glow of her skin shimmered faintly in the firelight. She looked like a warrior, but also like someone who had lost everything. Jake sat up slowly. "Morning," he said. No response. He tried again. "Thanks for not letting me die last night." She glanced at him, then back at her weapon. "You make noise in sleep," she said dryly. "You snore like dying beast." Jake smiled. "I'll take that as a compliment." She didn't smile back. Jake got up and rubbed his arms. "What is this place? This planet? It's not on any star maps." She finally looked at him. "This world has no name. It was forgotten long ago. Left to freeze." Jake frowned. "Then why are you here?" The woman stood, grabbed a chunk of frozen meat from a shelf, and threw it over the fire. She didn't answer. Jake watched her for a moment. "I'm guessing you weren't born here." "No," she said. "I was exiled here." Jake's eyes widened. "Exiled?" She nodded. "Banished. Left to die." Jake stepped closer, curious now. "Why? What did you do?" She looked into the fire for a long time before answering. "I refused to kneel." Jake didn't understand. "To who?" "My sister," she said sharply. "She took my crown. Claimed I was unfit. Said I brought shame to our blood." "Your royalty?" Jake asked in surprise. "I was," she said. "Now I am nothing. Just a ghost in the snow." Jake looked around the cave again. He noticed carvings on the walls, symbols, names, faces. He realized they weren't decorations. They were memories. A history she refused to forget. He sat down beside the fire. "So now you survive here, alone?" "Yes," she said. 3 years, maybe more. Time is broken here." Jake nodded slowly. "That explains the anger." She raised an eyebrow. "You do not know me." "True," Jake replied. "But I want to." She stared at him for a long second, then looked away. "Why?" Jake shrugged. "Because you saved me. Because I'm stuck here too now. And maybe because I think you're not as cold as you act." Silence. Then a sharp crack echoed outside the cave. Both of them froze. Kalara, her name finally came to him, grabbed her blade, and moved to the entrance. Jake followed, pistol in hand. Through the ice mist, they saw large shapes moving. 3-legged beasts, covered in thick white fur, with glowing red eyes. They sniffed the ground, following the scent of fire. One of them growled deeply. Kalara pulled Jake back. "Stay silent. They hunt warmth." Jake's heart pounded. "What are they?" "Frost beasts," she whispered. "They kill quickly. And they never come alone." Jake looked around. "Your cave, does it have another exit?" She shook her head. "Only one way in, one way out." The growling outside grew louder. The beasts were getting closer. Jake looked around the cave quickly. He spotted some old metal panels, broken tech parts and wires. His soldier training kicked in. "I need rope," he said. "Anything long. And something that makes noise." Kalara frowned but tossed him a coil of tough plant fiber. Jake quickly set up a simple trip alarm near the cave entrance using the wires and some metal scraps. If the beasts came in, he'd know. Kalara watched him work. "You are a soldier." Jake nodded. "Commander. Human Exploration Fleet." She looked at him with more respect now. "You do not act like most men I knew." Jake smiled. "You haven't met many human men." A faint grin almost touched her lips, but it faded fast. The alarm suddenly rang, a sharp clang of metal hitting stone. They both turned. One of the frost beasts was inside. It stood in the shadows, tall and terrifying. Its breath steamed in the cold air. Thick claws scraped the icy floor. Jake raised his pistol. Kalara stepped in front of him. "Your weapon is weak. Let me." Before Jake could stop her, she charged. Her movements were fast, fluid. She ducked under the beast's claws, leaped onto its back, and drove her curved blade deep into its neck. The beast roared, but soon fell still. Kalara panted, covered in sweat and blood. Jake stood frozen. You killed it. Alone." She turned, chest rising and falling. "Of course. I've done it many times." Jake stared at her, amazed. "Who are you?" She wiped her blade and said simply, "Kalara." He nodded. "Nice to officially meet you." Suddenly, a voice crackled in Jake's earpiece. He jumped in shock. "Sk. Human signal. Repeat. Human life detected." His heart raced. The radio still worked. Someone was looking for him. He turned to Kalara. "Did you hear that?" Her face turned pale. "No, that signal is not human. It's alien tech. It's my people." Jake blinked. "That's good, right? They can save us." Kalara shook her head, stepping back. "No, Jake. If they find me, they will kill me. And now, they'll kill you too." The night beast and the fire within. The snowstorm outside howled like a monster in pain. Inside the cave, Jake sat close to the fire. He wrapped himself in thick fur, but his hands still shook from cold and from fear. Kalara paced slowly near the entrance. Her blade was sharp, her eyes alert, but her movements were slower now. She was tired. The fight with the frost beast had drained her. The body of the creature lay just outside the cave, half covered in snow. Its blood had frozen into blue crystals. Kalara finally broke the silence. "They will smell the blood," she said. "The others, they will come." Jake rubbed his forehead. "How many more are there?" She didn't look at him. "Maybe 2, maybe 10. No one knows. They do not follow rules. They follow scent and heat." Jake stood up and checked his weapon. It was a small energy pistol, half charge. Against those monsters, it was nearly useless. He looked at Kalara. Her breath was shaky. Her arms trembled. "You're hurt," Jake said. "I saw your arm during the fight." "I'm fine," she snapped. But he didn't believe her. He walked over and gently reached for her shoulder. She pulled away at first, but then stopped. Jake pushed back the fur on her right arm. Underneath, a deep gash ran down her skin. Purple blood oozed from it slowly. "You need this cleaned. You'll get infected." Kalara didn't answer. Jake opened his survival kit and pulled out a sterile patch and healing gel. He applied it slowly. Her skin was warm, too warm. "You have a fever," he said softly. "You can't fight again. You need to rest." Kalara finally looked at him. Her eyes weren't angry now. Just tired. "I don't rest," she said. "Rest is weakness." Jake shook his head. "Rest is survival." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Kalara whispered, "No one ever touched me like that. Not gently." Jake didn't know what to say. So he just gave her a small smile and said, "Well, get used to it. We're stuck together, remember." That night, the temperature dropped lower than ever before. Even the fire couldn't fight the cold. Jake's body started to shut down. He couldn't feel his toes. His breath was white steam. Kalara saw his skin turning pale. She stood up, pulled the fur blanket from the wall, and tossed it on the ground. "Lie down," she ordered. Jake blinked. "What?" She glared. "No time for stupid questions. You freeze. I freeze. Together, we don't freeze." Jake lay down. Kalara lay next to him, pulled the fur over them both, and without another word, pressed her back against his chest. Her body was hot, like a living fire. Jake swallowed. "Kalara, this is..." "Silence," she said. "Think too much, you die." He gave a weak laugh and closed his eyes. They lay there, back to back, heartbeats slow but steady. For the first time since he crashed, Jake didn't feel alone. And yet, outside, danger was still near. Sometime deep into the night, Jake opened his eyes. Something was wrong. Kalara was shaking, her body twitching in her sleep. Her breath came out in sharp gasps. He gently turned toward her. "Kalara." No answer. He touched her face. Her skin burned like fire. "Kalara, wake up." She groaned, eyes flickering open. Too hot. Jake realized her wound was infected. The fever was worse now. He sat up and dug through his kit. He only had one dose of human antibacterial injection left. It wasn't made for alien biology, but it was better than nothing. He loaded the syringe and held her arm. "This might hurt," he said. Kalara didn't resist. She was too weak. He injected the medicine and held her until her breathing slowed. Suddenly, the alarm wires jingled. Jake froze. He grabbed his pistol and crawled to the cave entrance. Through the snow and wind, he saw movement. Another frost beast. It stood taller than the last. It sniffed the blood of its fallen brother, then let out a deep, vibrating growl. Jake's heart pounded. He backed away slowly and returned to Kalara's side. She was half awake now. "Another beast?" she whispered. Jake nodded. "I have to fight it." She shook her head weakly. "No, you'll die." "What choice do I have?" Kalara opened her pack and pulled out a strange glowing stone, a power crystal. She handed it to Jake. "Put this in your weapon," she said. "It will burn hot. One shot." Jake took it. "This'll overload the gun." "One shot," she repeated. "Make it count." He kissed her forehead without thinking. "Don't die while I'm gone." Jake stepped out into the snow. The beast was waiting, sniffing the air. Its red eyes locked on him. Jake raised the pistol. The glowing stone inside hummed. "Come on," he whispered. The beast charged. Jake fired. Boom! A wave of fire exploded from the gun. The blast hit the beast straight in the chest. It screamed, a horrible, high-pitched sound, and fell, its body burning in the snow. Jake fell to his knees, the pistol now melted in his hand. But the beast was dead. He crawled back into the cave. Kalara opened her eyes slightly. "You're alive," she whispered. "So are you," he replied, collapsing beside her. She gave him a weak smile. "You're not useless, human. And you're not heartless, alien." They laughed softly. Then, just as Jake was falling asleep, his radio crackled again. "Human life form confirmed. Sending coordinates to nearest patrol ship." Jake's eyes shot open. He looked at Kalara. "Help is coming." But Kalara's smile faded. She whispered, "No, that signal. It's not from Earth." Jake's blood ran cold. "Then who is it from?" Kalara looked at him with fear in her eyes. "My sister," she said. "She found us. Hunter or hunted." Jake couldn't sleep. He sat beside the cave wall, pistol melted, hand still shaking. The fire had burned low again, but he didn't dare close his eyes. Not after what Kalara said. "It's not Earth. It's my sister." Those words played in his head like a broken alarm. Kalara was asleep, wrapped in furs. Her fever had gone down, but her face still looked pale. She needed time. She needed rest. But they were out of time. Jake stared at the radio. The signal had changed. It now repeated over and over again. Life form detected. Prepare for collection. He didn't like that word, collection. It didn't sound like a rescue. It sounded like a trap. By morning, the wind had slowed. Snow fell gently now, covering the beast's burned body outside the cave. Jake was preparing to leave. He packed what little they had: furs, meat, Kalura's glowing crystal shard, and a small flare gun. He didn't know where he'd go, but staying here meant death or capture. Kalura opened her eyes as he tightened the straps on the backpack. "What are you doing?" she whispered. Jake turned. "We need to move. They're coming." Kalura sat up slowly, her muscles sore. "You don't understand. If my sister is here, she won't send soldiers. She'll come herself." "Why?" Jake asked. "Why risk that?" Kalura looked down. "Because she hates me. I embarrassed her in front of the elders. I refused to marry the warlord she chose. She called me weak. I called her a coward. And that's all it took for her to exile you." Kalura nodded. "No one challenges the first daughter. She had me branded a traitor, sent me here to die in the cold." Jake frowned. "She sounds like a monster." Kalura laughed bitterly. "She was my sister. Once. We shared everything. But she changed. Power changed her." Jake knelt down beside her. "Well, I won't let her take you." Kalura looked into his eyes, surprised. "Why? Why would you fight for me?" "Because you fought for me," Jake said. "And because I don't leave people behind." A strange emotion flickered in her eyes. "You are strange. For a human." He grinned. "You get used to it." They packed quickly. Kalura led the way. She knew a nearby cave system that ran beneath the ice. It wasn't safe, but it was hidden. And more importantly, it was unknown to her sister's scouts. They climbed down a frozen cliffside, each step slick with ice. Halfway down, the wind shifted. A loud humming sound echoed in the sky. Jake looked up and saw it. A sleek black alien ship hovered above the mountain. It was shaped like a sharp blade, silent but deadly. Kalura gasped. Her royal ship. A glowing blue beam scanned the area where their cave once was. "They're looking for us," Jake whispered. Kalura pulled him behind a rock. "We must go. Now." They slid the rest of the way down the cliff and disappeared into a narrow tunnel. The ice caves were dark and wet. Water dripped from the ceiling. The walls shimmered with strange crystals. Jake held a small torch. Kalura walked beside him, her hand resting on her blade. "How far does this go?" he asked. "All the way to the western ridge," she said. "If we can reach it, we can cross the fire plains. No ship will follow us there." Fire plains. Volcanic zone. The heat block scanners. No technology survives there for long. Jake nodded. "Sounds like home." Kalura smirked. Then they heard it. Footsteps. Metallic. Echoing. Getting closer. Jake killed the torch. They pressed themselves against the wall. From the shadows ahead, glowing eyes appeared. 6 alien soldiers, in full black armor, moved down the tunnel with high-tech spears glowing blue. Kalura whispered, "Elite guards, loyal only to her." Jake looked around. They couldn't fight, not without weapons, and Kalura was still weak. He spotted a narrow crack in the wall behind them. "Through here," he whispered. They squeezed into the crack just as the soldiers passed. One paused, looking around, but didn't see them. The pair waited until the soldiers were gone, then continued deeper into the caves. An hour later, they reached a cavern filled with glowing blue light. The walls were covered in ancient alien carvings, symbols of war, peace, and royalty. Kalura stepped forward, touching one of the carvings. "This was my house," she said. "The house of Keltarin. Once respected, now forgotten." Jake saw a carving of 2 sisters, one with a spear, one with a crystal. The second looked just like Kalara. She really betrayed you, didn't she? He asked. Kalara nodded. She always invited me. I was chosen by the ancestors to carry the heart crystal. Jake pulled the glowing shard from his pack. You mean this? She took it gently. Yes, it was mine. She tried to take it after our parents died. I refused. Jake looked at her with admiration. You were brave. No, she whispered. I was foolish, and it cost me everything. Jake touched her shoulder. Maybe. But now it might save us. Suddenly, the walls began to glow brighter. The crystal in Kalara's hand pulsed. She stepped forward, and the wall opened like a door. Jake stared. What is that? A way out, she said. Old escape tunnel. Only my blood can open it. They stepped through. Outside, the world had changed. The sky was red now, storm clouds glowing with static. In the distance, fire geysers burst from the ground. The fire planes. Kalara smiled weakly. We made it. But before they could move forward, a sharp voice rang through the sky. Kalara, sister, still running. They looked up. A tall figure in dark silver armor stood atop a black hover platform. Her hair was short and sharp. Her eyes were cold. Kalara's sister, the first daughter. Kalara stepped forward, blade drawn. Come to finish me, Silari, she shouted. Silari smiled cruelly. No, I came to remind you what happens to traitors, and to take that human toy you're playing with. Jake stepped up. I'm not a toy. Silari raised her hand, and 10 elite guards surrounded them from both sides. Jake's breath caught. They were trapped. Kalara whispered, Run. Jake shook his head. No. You must, she said. I'll hold them. Jake stared at her. You saved me. I'm not leaving you. Kalara smiled, tears in her eyes. Then we fight. Together. The rescue or the trap. Snow swirled in the air like ash. Jake stood back to back with Kalara, surrounded on both sides. 10 elite alien soldiers, armored in silver black, moved in tight formation, spears glowing with deadly blue energy. Above them floated Silari, Kalara's sister, first daughter of House Kalterin, now Queen of Ice. Her cold smile sent a chill deeper than the snow. You look tired, sister, Silari said, voice smooth like poisoned wine. But I suppose life in a hole will do that. Kalara didn't move. Her blade hung low, but her stance was ready. You came all this way just to insult me. No, Silari replied. I came to retrieve what is mine. Her eyes locked on the glowing crystal shard in Kalara's hand. Jake whispered, You sure you don't want to just give it to her? Kalara glanced at him. I'd rather die. Cool, cool, Jake muttered. Just checking. Silari snapped her fingers. 2 soldiers stepped forward, weapons aimed. Kill the human, she ordered. Bring the traitor to me, alive. The soldiers moved quickly. Jake fired the flare gun, his only weapon left. The sudden flash of white light exploded in their faces. The guards stumbled, blinded. Kalara didn't wait. She spun forward, blade slicing one spear in half. Jake ducked under another swing and tackled the second soldier into the snow. Run, Kalara shouted. But Jake didn't move. Not without her. Silari's voice echoed over the battle. Stop playing, sister. This ends today. Jake and Kalara fought side by side. They moved like one being, she with her blade fast and fierce. He with stolen weapons from fallen guards, using smart moves, not brute strength. Together, they dropped 5 soldiers. But there were still more. Silari floated higher, furious. I gave you a chance, she yelled. You chose this filthy creature over your own blood. Kalara looked up at her sister, eyes blazing. He gave me something you never could, a reason to fight. Silari's eyes narrowed. Then she aimed her hand at the ground. A sphere of dark energy formed in her palm. Kalara's face went pale. No, she whispered. Not that. Jake looked confused. What is that? The soul net, Kalara said. It binds your body. And your spirit. Before they could escape, Celery launched it. It slammed into the ground at their feet and exploded. Jake woke up seconds later, his body paralyzed. He could blink. He could breathe. But nothing else. He lay on the ground beside Kalara, who was also frozen, eyes wide in helpless anger. Celery walked toward them slowly, proud and calm. Told you, sister, she said softly. You were always the weak one. She knelt beside Kalara and took the crystal shard from her fingers. This belongs to me now, Celery whispered. And soon, all of you will forget she ever existed. Kalara's eyes burned with fury, but she couldn't move. Celery turned to Jake. You humans are so fragile, she said, brushing snow from his face. You thought you could play hero. How adorable. She stood again. Take them to the prison ship, she ordered her guards. Inside the dark hold of the alien ship, Jake could finally move again. The soul net wore off after they were inside, locked behind a force field cell. Cold steel walls, humming lights, and a strange smell of oil and ice filled the room. Kalara lay beside him, breathing hard. Jake sat up, rubbing his neck. Well, that didn't go well. Kalara didn't respond. He turned to her. Hey, you okay? She slowly sat up, eyes full of guilt. I failed, she whispered. I lost the crystal. I lost our chance. Jake shook his head. No, you gave us a shot. That matters. She looked at him. You should have run. And leave you behind. He said. Never. That's not what humans do. A small tear slid down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away. Jake moved closer. We're not done yet. There's always another move. Kalara looked around. Not from here. Jake smiled. You forget. I'm an engineer. With a stolen energy cell from the guard's belt, Jake rigged a shock emitter using metal scraps from the wall vent. I call it Plan. Fry the lock, he said proudly. Kalara raised an eyebrow. It sounds like it will kill us. 50-50, Jake admitted. But hey, better odds than waiting for your sister to come back and vaporize us. She nodded. Let's do it. He jammed the device into the control panel and stepped back. 3, 2, 1. Crack. A loud spark burst from the panel. The force field flickered and dropped. They were free. But alarms started blaring instantly. Security breach detected. Kalara grabbed a staff from a fallen guard. Jake took his pistol back from a locker. The guards were on their way. Kalara turned to him, eyes burning bright. We fight again. Jake grinned. Together. They burst into the hallway. Kalara moved like fire, knocking guards aside. Jake used his pistol carefully, targeting weak points in the armor. They didn't need to win. They needed to escape. They made it to the docking bay. Kalara stopped cold. Her sister stood at the center, waiting. You never learn, Celery said. Kalara stepped forward. No, but I never quit. Jake whispered. You said the soul net only works once a day, right? Kalara nodded. She can't use it again. Jake smiled. Good. Let's give her a surprise. They attacked together. Jake threw a stolen smoke bomb. Kalara rushed through the haze, blade ready. Celery was fast, but not faster than both of them. Jake fired a shot that hit Celery's shoulder. She screamed in pain. Kalara slashed her spear away and grabbed the crystal shard from Celery's belt. Your reign ends now, Kalara said. She pressed the crystal to her own chest. It glowed, then sank into her skin. Power surged around her. Celery's eyes widened. No. Kalara raised her hand and sent a shockwave that blew Celery back across the docking bay. Jake watched in awe. Okay, that's new. Kalara turned to him, glowing, fierce, and beautiful. I'm done running. she said. Let's go home. They stole a small scout ship and blasted into the sky, escaping the main ship. Behind them, Solari's ship burned, damaged by Kalera's power. Jake looked back, breathing hard. That was insane. Kalera leaned back in the seat, exhausted but smiling. I told you, she said. I'd rather die than bow. Jake laughed. You didn't die. You just became a legend. She looked at him quietly. We're not safe yet, but with you, I think we have a chance. He reached out and took her hand. We'll make it, he said. Together. Her final stand. The stolen scout ship roared through the sky, leaving Solari's burning ship far behind. But even as they escaped the cold world of exile, Jake knew something wasn't right. Beside him in the pilot's seat, Kalera sat silent, her body glowing faintly. The crystal shard, now fused to her chest, pulsed with a deep blue light. It shimmered beneath her skin, as if alive. She hadn't spoken a word since she used its power to blow back her sister and escape. Jake checked the controls. The ship was stable, flying over the fire plains now, an endless stretch of cracked red earth, bursting with steam and fire geysers. The perfect place to hide. But he wasn't worried about the terrain. He was worried about her. Kalera, he said softly, how do you feel? She turned to him slowly, her pupils glowing faint blue. Strong. Jake forced a smile. Good strong. Or scary strong. She didn't answer. Instead, she stood and walked to the back of the small ship, staring out the window. Jake followed her. The ground below looked like a living wound. Molten rivers flowed across jagged rocks. Giant volcanic columns shot flame high into the air. Kalera whispered, my ancestors believed this was a cursed land, full of power and punishment. Jake crossed his arms. And now we're hiding in it. Kalera touched the window. No, we're not hiding. Jake frowned. What do you mean? She turned. Her eyes were glowing brighter now. I won't run anymore. I will finish this. I will face her again. And this time, I won't lose. Jake stepped closer. You already won. You escaped. You're free. She looked at him with something between pain and power in her voice. Freedom means nothing if evil still rules. They landed on a high ridge overlooking the fire plains. From here, they could see miles in all directions. Heat shimmered in the air. Their ship was cloaked, hidden by a natural magnetic field. But Kalera couldn't sit still. She walked along the ridge, fists clenched. Her steps left glowing blueprints in the red stone. Jake followed. Talk to me. She finally stopped. It's the crystal. It's changing me. Jake froze. How? I feel everything. Past, present. I hear voices, echoes of my ancestors. And also, she clenched her jaw. Also hunger, rage, things that don't belong to me. Jake's voice softened. Can you control it? She turned, eyes filled with fire. Right now, yes, but I don't know for how long. Jake stepped forward and gently placed his hands on her shoulders. We'll figure it out, together. She shook her head. No, if I lose control, you have to stop me. I'm not going to hurt you, Jake said firmly. You must, she said. Swear it. If I become like her, if I forget who I am, stop me. Jake didn't want to answer, but she waited. Finally, he said, fine, but only if you promise to fight it every second. She nodded. I promise. That night, they made camp beneath a natural rock arch. The heat from the ground kept the air warm. Jake built a small energy shield around them using the last of their power cells. It wouldn't stop an army, but it would hide them. They ate quietly, roasted cave meat and dried roots. It tasted like rubber, but neither of them complained. Jake watched Kalera as she stared into the fire. He wanted to hold her hand, to tell her he was scared too. that the thought of losing her, after everything, felt worse than death. But before he could speak, a deep hum filled the air. Kalara stood fast. Jake looked up. What now? A massive warship rose over the mountains in the distance, larger than anything Jake had seen. Black as night, with red lights burning across its hull. Kalara's voice turned sharp. That's not my sister's ship. Jake blinked. Then whose is it? Inside the warship, Solari stood beside a tall, shadowed figure, a Vorthan warlord, a brutal alien species known for destruction. Solari's voice was bitter. I gave you the location. Now destroy them both. The Vorthan warlord growled. We want the crystal. That was the deal. Solari narrowed her eyes. Take it from her dead body if you must. I just want my sister erased. The warlord grinned. It will be done. Back on the ridge, Kalara stared at the approaching ship. Jake grabbed his pack. We can run. Hide in the volcanic tunnels. Kalara shook her head. They'll burn the plains looking for us. They'll kill everything in their path. Jake's heart sank. Then what? She stepped forward, eyes shining. I'll face them. Alone. No way, Jake said. We do this together. Kalara looked at him for a long, quiet moment. Then she leaned in and kissed him. It was soft, brief, but it lit a fire stronger than the one around them. When she pulled back, she whispered, You made me remember who I was. But now, I have to become more. She turned and walked toward the edge of the cliff. Jake grabbed his gear. I said together. Kalara smiled softly. Then stay behind me, human. I burn hotter now. They stood side by side as the warship descended. Dozens of Vorthan soldiers dropped from the sky, weapons drawn. Kalara stepped forward, her body glowing like a sun. Jake fired first, drawing attention. He used cover, moved smart. He wasn't trying to win, just buy time. Kalara lifted both hands. The crystal inside her pulsed, and the ground exploded beneath the soldiers. Flames shot high. Heat cracked the earth. Kalara rose into the air, floating. Jake stared, stunned. She was becoming something else. Go back, she shouted to the army, or burn. They charged instead. She unleashed her power. Flames danced from her hands. Light shot from her eyes. Soldiers flew through the air, armor melting. Even the warship pulled back, unable to withstand the heat. Jake ran to her. Kalara, stop. You'll destroy everything. She turned, barely recognizing him. Her skin cracked with glowing lines. Her voice echoed with ancient tones. Too late. They must pay. He grabbed her hand. This isn't you. She looked at him, truly looked, and tears formed in her eyes. I can't stop it. Jake pulled her into an embrace. Yes, you can. You promised. Kalara screamed and released one final burst of power into the sky. It shattered the clouds. The warship retreated in flames. Then, silence. Kalara collapsed into his arms. Her glow faded. Her breathing slowed. Jake held her close. Stay with me. She whispered, You were my warmth in the cold. And then she closed her eyes. Warmth beyond the ice. Jake held Kalara in his arms, surrounded by the broken ground of the fire plains. Her body, once burning with power, was now still. Her glowing skin had dimmed. The crystal inside her chest had gone dark, like an ember after a storm. The ground smoked. The warship had fled. The enemy soldiers were gone. But Jake wasn't celebrating. He was praying she was still alive. Come on, he whispered. Don't do this. Not after everything. He pressed his hand over her heart. No beat. Only silence. His voice cracked. You said I made you remember who you were. You made me remember who I was too. Her words echoed in his mind. You were my warmth in the cold. He wasn't ready to let go. Jake worked fast. He laid Kaylora on a flat rock and opened his emergency medkit. He applied shock pads to her chest, adjusted the alien setting for her biosignature, and hit the button. VZZ. Her body jerked. Still no heartbeat. Again. BZCT. Still nothing. Tears ran down his face. Please. He tried one more time. BZZT. A weak flicker of light pulsed beneath her skin. Her fingers twitched. Jake leaned in. Kaylora. Her lips moved. Barely. He heard it. The faintest whisper. Jake. He laughed and cried all at once. Yes, you're back. Her eyes fluttered open. Everything is hot. Jake laughed again, wiping tears. Yeah, well, you kinda turned into a fire goddess for a minute. Kaylora tried to sit up but winced in pain. Jake helped her gently. The crystal? She asked. Jake looked at her chest. The shard had shrunk and buried itself deeper into her body. It no longer glowed bright, but it was there, dormant, quiet. I think it used you. And you used it back, Jake said. You're still you. Kaylora closed her eyes. Good. I was scared. I'd lose myself. Jake held her hand. You almost did, but you came back. She looked at him. Because you brought me back. They stayed on the ridge for hours, resting. No more enemies came. For once, the fire plains were peaceful. The sky slowly turned purple, sunset on this strange, cold, hot world. Jake set up a small transmitter using leftover parts from the stolen scout ship. It would send a simple human signal into deep space. A call for help. He wasn't sure if Earth would hear it, but he had to try. Kaylora sat beside him, arms wrapped in a blanket. Her body still ached, but her eyes were strong again. She looked at the transmitter and said, Do you think they'll come? Jake nodded. They will. Might take a while, but they will. Kaylora sighed. And when they do, what then? Jake turned to her. What do you want? She thought for a moment. To see Earth. To walk on green grass. To feel warm rain. Then she added softly, to not be hunted anymore. Jake smiled. We'll make that happen. Kaylora looked at him carefully. And you? What do you want? Jake looked up at the stars. I thought I wanted adventure. Glory. Promotion. But now. He turned to her. I want to build something that lasts. With someone who fights for what's right. Someone who survived a frozen death world and still had room for kindness. Kaylora gave him a rare smile. That person sounds scary. Jake chuckled. She is. But I like her anyway. They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars. Suddenly, the crystal in Kaylora's chest pulsed once. Just once. Jake noticed. What was that? Kaylora stood, confused. I don't know. The sky above them shimmered. A strange portal of light opened, round, silver, and silent. From it, a massive figure stepped through. Not a soldier, not a warlord. An elder. It floated inches above the ground, its body long and cloaked in swirling lights. Its face was featureless, yet somehow full of wisdom. Kaylora's voice shook. That's an ancient one. A guardian of the first flame. Jake stepped in front of her protectively. The being raised a glowing hand and spoke directly into their minds. Daughter of Kalterran, you have awakened the heart crystal. Few have done so and returned. You are one. Kaylora bowed her head. I did not seek power, only survival. You chose sacrifice, love, honor. Therefore, the crystal has chosen you. Not for war, but for rebirth. Jake frowned. Rebirth. The guardian looked at him. Human, your soul burned brighter than the cold around you. You reminded her of her truth. And so, we offer you both a choice. Kaylora whispered, a choice. Stay here and rebuild this broken land, or return to Earth and leave it behind. Jake and Kaylora looked at each other. Jake said softly. This place gave us hell. But it also gave us this. She nodded. And there are others out there, hurt, hunted, forgotten. Like I was. Jake looked at the Guardian. If we stay, can we protect them? The being nodded slowly. We will give you tools, knowledge, and in time, peace. Jake took Kalera's hand. Then we stay. The Guardian raised both hands. Light poured into the land. The fires calmed. The ice melted in the north. Life began to return. Small plants, green cracks in the red rock. The beginning of something new. The war was over. The healing had begun. 1 year later, a new city stood near the cliffs, built from stone, metal, and light. A place of peace, open to exiles, wanderers, even humans who found their way to this forgotten world. Jake stood on a tall tower, watching a new ship land, bringing more settlers. Kalera stood beside him, wearing robes of silver and blue. A symbol of the Guardian's blessing glowed on her shoulder. You look official, Jake said. She smirked. You still snore like a frost beast. They laughed. He slipped an arm around her waist. Didn't think a crash landing would lead to this. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Neither did I, but I'm glad it did. Jake nodded. You still have the crystal. She opened her palm. It floated just above her skin, small now, but warm. Still with me, she said, just like you. They looked out at the city, at the people gathering, the fires burning not from war, but from hearths and homes. Kalera smiled. This world was cold, but now, Jake finished her sentence. Now it's ours.